Welcome to the channel. You'll never guess what we have to look at on the channel today. Well, I guess you will, because you probably saw the thumbnail and you probably read the title of the video. It's the Gamesir X5s game controller. So we've been looking at a fair number of controllers recently. This is one for technically a phone or small tablet or other device. So a little bit different than the last few we've been looking at. But, you know, as you know, I have a lot of handheld devices, and so I'd like to try out controllers that'll work with them too. So let's get this controller open and see what it looks like. So this is Bluetooth connectivity. We've got USB-C, so we can test this out with the PC. And supposedly we have 2.4 gigahertz wireless connection, but if the dongle's not included, then I guess we're not doing much for that. Why even advertise it? It's got a few other things. Oh, you can switch the buttons around, I guess, so if you want Nintendo layout, you can do that. But I prefer Android Xbox layout, so I'm probably not going to mess with the buttons, but we'll take a look. So let's get this box open. Oh, apparently it's got motion controls. So let's see if this is all we need to do. Yeah. Didn't keep that box in mint condition. All right. We're getting there. Okay, we have a, it's like a USB-C charge cable. Some documentation and chicken sticker. Looks like some rubber pads to adjust the controller's fit on your phone, or tablet, or whatever. Oh, isn't this fancy? One of my other Gamesir controllers have one of these. So apparently it actually comes with a little case here, and case has a hole in it, so you can actually charge it while in the case. That's actually thoughtful. I give them that. So okay, I guess this is the maybe the fancier version of the X5 controller, so maybe it's got this extra stuff in it. Let's see if we can get it open. First test of the controller is, can we get the package open? And can we get the controller out of the case? Oh, I guess if we want to change the buttons around, we can do so. So let's see, we got this case here, we'll just set it aside. Looks like mostly documentation here. Put it down here, maybe it'll have less glare. So, Discord community. Here's the actual directions for the controller. Anything special here? Looks pretty standard issue so far. Press and hold the home button to power it on. The controller will automatically power off. There's no operation. Low battery indicator, charging. Well, what we'll probably do is test this out on the PC while letting it charge. Connect to a device via wireless. Okay, just use the USB-C cable. So no big deal there. Looks like we've got some turbo functions, adjust vibration. So I have an X5 series controller already. I have the X5 Lite. So you can see they look pretty similar to each other. The X5s has dark versus light here for the X5 Lite. Of course, the X5 Lite is a USB-C only controller, and it doesn't have haptics or anything like that, so you definitely feel a little bit more weight in the X5s. But other than that, they feel fairly similar. The X5 Lite is extremely cheap. This is actually a really good budget option for controllers. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, you don't know if you really want a phone controller, and you have one that can hook a phone that can hook up by USB-C. I recommend the X5 Lite if you just want to kind of dip your toes in the water here without spending a whole lot of money. It's actually a pretty good controller. I have a video on this one, but we'll put it aside for now because we have the X5s. So this one is Bluetooth. Well, actually, it gets pretty wide. Let's see if it gets wider than the Lite. As you might expect, they're about the same. So I wonder if the this controller here doesn't have much battery in it. So we'll charge it while we're looking at performance on PC. So here's some rubber bumpers if we want to adjust the width of the controller. We may play with these later when we stick some devices in here. But what's in the box? Basically the controller, USB-C cable, and a case, and rubber adjustment bumpers, as well as directions. So that's what you get in the X5s box. So looking at the control options here, this actually feels a lot like the X5 Lite. This is hard plastic. It's not actually rubberized or anything, but the grip texture seems pretty good. We have sticks here. These are Hall sticks. These are not TMR, so unlike the last couple of controllers I've looked at, these are the old style Hall sticks. Although Hall sticks are fine, and they won't drift on us like some sticks will, like Nintendo sticks. Buttons here are a little fancier, they have a little better feel, I think, than the ones on the X5 Lite. The D-pad feels about the same. Sticks feel smooth. Of course, we'll check that out with the controller tester. And we don't have a whole lot in the way of, well, we don't have really any additional buttons here. I guess this is the Bluetooth connection button, but we're not going to count that one. In terms of buttons that you can use to program for games, you can do some macros with this, but there aren't any extra buttons like you might find on some pricier controllers. So let's get this hooked up to the PC so it can actually charge, and so that we can test it out a bit. We have our Gamesir X5s hooked up directly via USB-C to my PC here. As you can see, the PC I'm using is actually a Lenovo Legion Go. So that's why Legion Controller 1 F6 is up there in spots 1 and 2. Controller we're testing actually shows up as an Xbox 360 controller for Windows. So here we go. So let's see here. So the sticks, I've been spoiled a little bit recently by using this thing, the G7 Pro. Just checking out these sticks, I can tell, they're not as precise as something like the G7 Pro is. Of course, it's not really a fair connection comparing a more expensive, full-size PC controller to something like a phone controller, but it's just worth mentioning. Of course, these sticks are smaller as well. They're also Hall instead of a TMR like the sticks on the G7 Pro. So, maybe again, not a fair connection. Correct. Not a fair comparison, if I can talk today. But, for a phone controller, not too bad. I would certainly give the edge to something like the Razer Kishi V3. But, again, partly because the sticks on that are bigger. For a portable phone controller, I think, for one that's focusing more on maybe size and portability than something like the Razer, I think these are probably fine. So as far as the buttons go, buttons are not too loud, so they're relatively quiet. These are not mechanical buttons or anything like that, so they don't make a whole lot of noise. They work fine. D-pad is quiet, not clicky. And like the, I think it's the same D-pad as you have on the X5 Lite, and I thought that one was pretty good for a phone controller here. So far, nothing really surprising here. We've got the analog back triggers here. Don't have a whole lot of travel if you're looking for, you know, a lot of travel. This doesn't have it, but that's fine. For most games I play, the triggers don't even matter if they're analog. I think there is a software hair trigger mode that you can access via keystroke, but there aren't any actual trigger locks like you'll find on some of the fancier controllers. So let's look at joysticks here for a second. So as far as circularity goes, you know, fine, certainly for phone controllers. Again, not as precise as something like a really, you know, the Razer Kishi V3 or the Gamesir G7 Pro, but again, probably not a fair comparison just because both of those are significantly more expensive than this device. But for what it is, it seems fine. Now, this controller supposedly has haptics. Let's see if it actually does anything. Do we get vibration? Yes, we do. We have vibration. Not as violent as some of the other controllers I've tested. It's not really moving around the desk or anything. I don't know if you can hear it, but you can definitely feel it in there. Now, personally, I don't really care whether or not phone controllers basically have haptics. The X5 Lite doesn't have them, and it doesn't bother me that it doesn't. But, you know, if you want some haptics in your controller for your phone or tablet, this has it. Now, I think that is about all we are going to test on the controller tester here. So, I mean, looks good for what it is. But let's get into some games. Let's check out the usual test suite here. But since this is a phone controller, after we do the tests on the PC, what I think we'll do is we'll check out hooking this up to some other devices and see how easy that is, see how well that works. But first, let's play a little Borderlands 2. We have Borderlands 2 up and running on the Legion Go here. So let's see how this Gamesir X5s controller plays with a first-person shooter like Borderlands 2. So far, for a controller with sticks this size, it seems to be holding its own here.
Like what you see. Great shot, babe. Take the shot, babe. Oh, no happy
So I don't think we're as
endings.
precise here as something like a G7 Pro.
You ready to pull the trigger?
But again, we're testing a phone controller, so we don't necessarily expect the same performance for an inexpensive, relatively speaking, phone controller than we'd expect for a more expensive PC controller. See if we can shoot some of these guys up.
Where do you want me? You really blew them away.
What we got left? Anybody? So him. And
Like what you see.
oh, a couple more.
Take the shot, babe.
Stop looking at me! It's
That's all for those guys. So precision's okay. Not the best, but I think the small sticks have a lot to do with that.
Like what you see. Take the shot, babe.
Mommy dearest, what's the
Oh, fine.
Ooh, look at you go. You ready to pull the trigger?
You're not ready for me. Chew 'em up.
Great shot, babe.
You tell 'em, baby.
Go on, take a long, hard look. Like what you see.
Let's give them some bully mons to play with. I am getting some vibration through the controller.
No happy ending for them. Where do you want me? Go on.
Hey, Johnny. Time to explode.
Like what you see. This'll hit the spot. Take a shot, babe. You sure know how to pull out a shot.
Remember when you killed me? That was funny.
You ready to pull the trigger?
Hello.
Where do you
Johnny, don't
So far, for a phone type controller with relatively small joysticks, I think this is doing pretty well. So, I mean, if you're into playing a lot of first-person games on your phone, you might want to go for a controller with a little bit bigger sticks. But I think for the price they're aiming at with this, and for the sticks being relatively small, they do a pretty good job. They do at least as well as pretty much all of the sticks that are built into some of the retro handhelds like the Odins and the Retroids. So, work decent, but I think full-size sticks probably work a little better for games like this. Let's test out the sticks again using Colony Wars on the PlayStation by emulation. We're back looking at Colony Wars. This is running by a DuckStation emulator. It's a PlayStation 1 game. It's a three-dimensional space shooter, and that genre was popular in the 90s, and I still enjoy it, but it's a good test to see if the analog sticks can be relatively precise. So we are going to start the game here and see if we can blast a couple of fighters out of the sky. A little bit of loading here.
This is Midas Starport. We are under attack. Please assist.
Oops. Try to get used to these smaller sticks here.
One enemy remaining.
This is Midas Starport. Surrounding area clear. Well done. You are clear to dock.
Commencing docking sequence.
Well, not too bad for the stick size. Takes a little more getting used to than using something like a G7 Pro. But if you're emulating this on your phone and you want to play Colony Wars, I think this will do. Next up, let's see how the D-pad works with Silhouette Mirage. So we've got Silhouette Mirage up and running, so let's play around with the D-pad of this controller for a bit and get this game started. We can skip this intro because this game loves to talk at us, and it will continue to talk at us even if we skip.
Let's go! Hup! Hup! Reflector! Hup! Reflector! Hup! Hup! Reflector! Bam! 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 Power punch! Reflector! Hup! Bam! Bam! Power reflector! Hup! 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 Reflector! Hup! Hup! Bam! 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 Power reflector! Hup! Reflector! Hup! Bam! 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 Power reflector! Hup! Bam! 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 Power reflector! Hup! Bam! 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 Power punch! Hup!
What the game wants you to do is it wants you to grab these enemies and beat the money out of them, so you can buy power-ups later on.
Hup!
But that takes a while, so
Reflector!
we may skip some of that.
Reflector! 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 Hup!
Can we move on? Yes.
Hup! Hup! Bam! 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 Power reflector! Reflector! Power reflector!
Just trying to get through this area here, so I'm not too worried about my health. We are getting vibration during this game.
Reflector! Bam! 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 Reflector! Reflector! Ow!
Oops. Well, this is probably good enough for now. So, looks like the D-pad performs well enough for games like this. So, I think this controller is probably maybe more suited for D-pad games than dual analog stick games, just because, well, the analog sticks here are a little on the small side. They'll work well enough, but you know, you can get better if you want to pay some more money for analog stick games. So, normally we would just go to final thoughts at this point, but since this is a Bluetooth controller and we would like to use this on a phone or a small tablet or some similar device, we're going to actually do that now. I think I've had this plugged in long enough while I've been recording this other gameplay footage to actually have it charged. So we are going to try this with some other devices now. Some of you might recognize this device in the controller here. This is a Pimax Portal, and the Pimax Portal was a sort of hybrid VR handheld type device. Interesting idea. Actually had magnetic Joy-Con controllers before the Switch 2 came out. But the problem with these magnetic Joy-Con controllers is that they're just awful. The buttons are terrible, the sticks are terrible, the shoulder buttons are especially terrible. So they're kind of a neat gimmick, but in terms of actually being usable, they just don't work very well. So instead of using these, it would be nice to have an actual viable controller for the Pimax Portal. So I've hooked up the Gamesir X5s to my Portal using just plain old Bluetooth. It wasn't actually too difficult to do. Essentially, put this in Bluetooth pairing mode for Android devices. Hold down this button in A, and you hold down the logo button in A, it flashes yellow, and then you can just pair it through the normal Bluetooth pairing menu. So this actually fits the Portal pretty well with the default bumpers. The Pimax Portal has some little like indentions here, which actually help it hold on to the controller. So this may inadvertently end up being my main Pimax Portal controller, because you can't really use USB-C controllers with it because the USB port is on the bottom. So, doesn't seem to block the fan too badly. So, I've got Zenless Zone Zero loaded up here. The Portal actually is a, you know, for past couple of years, actually a relatively powerful little Android handheld here. It actually is, it's got a processor in it that's essentially on the level of what you have in the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Retroid Pocket Mini. So very similar processor to those. So you can get, you know, play a little bit of Zenless Zone Zero here, which is what we've got loaded up. And we've got it in controller mode, so hopefully there's no problems, using the controller here. We'll just start a little round here. I'm not a big Zenless Zone Zero player. I use it mainly for testing, but hey, this will do. Let me clean the screen off a little bit. There we go. May not be able to hear the sound because of the noise filtering of the mic, but you can at least see what's going on here. Well, seems to work well enough playing games like Zenless Zone Zero. In fact, it really pairs well with the, oddly enough, Pimax Portal. So I will probably end up actually keeping this with the Portal so I can actually use it for gaming, because these controllers here that came with it and that actually attach to the sides are just awful. So don't see any problems here using this with Bluetooth on an Android device. Probably use it with a Apple too, but don't really have a something I can connect it to try that for games. But this actually works pretty well for a small tablet like the Pimax Portal. Of course, you could use it for your phone as well. There are plenty of, little adjustable grips here. This should pretty much fit any phone, and probably will fit a phone. You should fit a phone in a case pretty well as well too. So, no problems here. Using this thing with Android, playing some Android games. As you can see, the Android games like Zenless Zone Zero support the controller. No special configuration really required. There is a Gamesir app you can use to update the firmware on the controller. I actually installed it. There weren't any firmware updates as of now, because I guess this is a pretty new controller. But no real problems using this with an Android device. So let's put up the Portal, and we'll come back and give some final thoughts about the Gamesir X5s. So, back with the Gamesir X5s Bluetooth controller, and this is, been playing around with it for a little while, used it with various devices. I actually just had a thought. If you have an RG slide, you could make your own Anbernic RG476H using this controller. So, actually does hold it in there. So, if you don't want to invest in an RG476H, create your own with this little controller. But more seriously, this is basically this controller retails on Amazon, I believe, for about $50, which means you can probably get it on sale a little less than that. You can get better controllers than this, but the better controllers that I've tested all cost significantly more than this one. So, for what you get, it's not bad. It's got haptics, it's got all sticks, it's got even swappable buttons. So you can actually, if you want to pair this with the Switch, and you can actually just use this grip and just take the buttons off and swap them out if you like. I'm going to stick with the Android Xbox configuration, but you can swap these out, and there's a little software switch that switches the button assignments too if you want to do it that way. But neat little feature if you are using this with a Switch, or you're just using it with a retro handheld or retro little tablet like the Portal, and you just prefer Nintendo orientation for some reason. But interesting little feature on a relatively inexpensive controller. So about the only thing I think we miss off of this that I might use routinely would be there's no headphone jack on this. So you don't get audio out here, at least with a standard headphone jack. But I guess for the price this thing is retailing for, can't really complain about that too much. Said I'm happy with this, and I think I have finally found a decent controller that pairs well with the Pimax Portal. So I don't have to use those really crappy Joy-Cons that it comes with anymore. So I'm happy about it for that. This is where this controller is going to be for me. But it's a decent value, I think. If you're really looking for something inexpensive that is pretty close to this, without some of the features that it has, we have the X5 Lite, which goes for a good bit less. But the X5 Lite's not Bluetooth, so it's only going to work for you if you have a phone or little tablet with USB-C. But this one will work with pretty much anything with Bluetooth. And also, as a bonus, if you actually want to use it that way, you can just plug it into your PC and use it as a PC gamepad. Personally, I would pick my G7 Pro over this for a PC gamepad, but you can use it in a pinch. If you're going somewhere else and you need to plug in, this will do. So, we've explored the Gamesir X5s controller, $50 Bluetooth controller. So, I like this so far. Like I said, I'm going to continue using this with my Portal because it fits pretty well with it. If you want to purchase it, $50 is retail on Amazon. I honestly, Gamesir controllers go on sale pretty frequently on Amazon, so you can probably score a better deal for this, particularly as we get closer to Black Friday, but still a good value as it is. So I think that's about all we are going to say about the X5s. Pretty good, not too terribly expensive Bluetooth controller. So we'll call it a video right now. So if you like the video, remember to leave me a like. If you want to see more content, I promise things other than controllers. I just happen to have a lot of controllers recently. But, other gaming-related content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.